body is simple. It means you see God when you look in the mirror, and that the body of man is God, and that there's no mystery God in the sky. You are God.
Yep, and we are on another episode of the Anabolic Mind, where we talk to people from all walks of life about what they're doing wellness-wise and entrepreneur-wise. So today we got like a super guest, man. I'm so happy that Barbara, shout out to Barbara, got you on. This man is healing people who really need healing. You know, he's known as the hood therapist. You know, he's speaking a language that, you know, Black and brown people can understand. He healed himself and then went on to get his a therapist degree, right?
Yeah, I got I got a couple of degrees. I got a degree in psychology. I got a master's in psychology and marriage and family therapy, and my doctorate is in clinical psychology. Yeah, and I specialize in like trauma, like, you know, the stuff I've lived. You know what I mean? So.
That's incredible, man. So I'm so happy. Can't stop smiling. I want to introduce my man. Give him a warm welcome, Taje Moreno.
What's up, y'all? Thank you. I appreciate that, bro.
Good to have you on, man. It's definitely a pleasure. And there's so many different ways to approach this interview with you. I want to talk about the mental health for sure, but also the entrepreneurial aspect. You know, so we can take it from there. Like, how did you first come into the mental health space? Was it your personal experiences? What happened to you to get you thinking this is something I need to do to approach to heal people?
Well, first of all, you know, I'm from Compton in LA, you know, and shouts out to Cardina and Hawthorne. I'm from all those places. We're in South LA, south of the 105 freeway, and you know, I come from a pretty harsh environment. You know what I'm saying? I also lived in Patterson, New Jersey for a year or two too. So I've been in ghettos from coast to coast. You know what I mean? And I always found myself on the street side of that life. At an early age, you know, I started getting involved in the streets when I was like 8 or 9 years old. You know, I was catching cases at 12 years old. And,
wow.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Just dealing with a lot, you know what I'm saying? And, being Afro-Latino out here in LA too comes with its challenges as well. You know, you deal with, you know, things that a lot of other people don't deal with, you know, on either side of that mix, you know what I mean? So just all that combined with, I always had a natural like flair for like learning things. I like learning new things and stuff. And I always was infatuated with the brain, you know, like the human brain. And yeah, I found myself, you know, at a time in life where I was going through something, you know, I could have lost my life to. And I decided I had to change some things. And I decided to get my education at that point. And when I was thinking about like what I wanted to major in, it just went back to what am I interested in. You know, at the time, a lot of people were like, oh, you've been so good at business and numbers and things like that. And I was like, well, I already kind of know how to do that. You know what I mean? I didn't go to college with the intent on learning how to make money.
But the street gives you a certain level of education when it comes to that, for sure.
Exactly. So I kind of already had that entrepreneurial kind of spirit of doing it on my own. You know what I'm saying? But so I was like, let me pick something I really like and that I would really like to learn, because school is a challenge. You know, like you got to go to class, you got to do the homework, you got to study. So for me to spend that amount of time doing that, I had to like it. You know what I mean? Because my ADD, I'm not gonna be able to focus. You know what I mean?
Wow, so, you were able to do all of that with ADHD, really?
Yeah,
that's incredible, bro.
That's really it's just incredible. Learning. I just learned how. Thank you. I just learned how. I just figured out how I learn things, and I think that's what's the key to anybody who's kind of dealing with that. It doesn't mean that they're like less smart or less intellectually sound than somebody. It just means that they learn things differently. You know what I mean? And yeah. So knowing that, I took that into account, and I came to psychology. You know, and it was like a fish in water, basically. You know, when you find those little things where it's like a fish in water, you know, not only are those the things that bring you pleasure because they tend to be your passions, but if you can learn to make money off of doing that as well, that's a plus as well. You know what I mean? So I just jumped into it. Yeah.
But it's interesting though, like just to be able to survive in the street, you do have to know a certain level of psychology, how people are going to react in certain situations. What's going to happen if you do this? How's this person going to, you know, receive you if you do that? So it is a certain amount of psychology that goes on in the street life, and people not even aware of that. Like that could save your life, actually.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When somebody gets educated to be a therapist or a psychologist, they talk a lot about nonverbal actions. Like because when I'm in a session, I'm trained to notice these things from people. This trains me. This makes me an effective therapist because I know how to react to certain things. That if somebody's telling you something in confidence and you react like, oh shit, like this person just told me this, they're not going to trust you no more, and that kills the therapeutic bond. So they already train you in like noticing like subtle movements, that can signal how somebody's feeling and things like that. And in the hood, like you said, we're on constant, they call it hypervigilance in psychology, but if to us, it's like, oh, motherfuckers be paranoid and shit. So yeah, because there's people dying, there's all kind of stuff going on. So you naturally are trained to notice like nonverbal actions or how somebody's looking. Somebody, when I was involved in that life, I would observe people and they wouldn't even know I'm observing them. If I see them in the crowd, you see how people look and how, all of that. So yeah, it could save your life a lot of times, and it creates a conundrum with trying to heal that because it's real. Like you really got to be aware of these things. So it's kind of hard to cure that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's not just a paranoia; it's the reality. Right.
Absolutely.
It's interesting that your background would actually prepare you to be a better therapist. I've been in therapy, and I did get some benefit out of it. I joined the military when I was 17, coming out the hood in Brooklyn. Did a Gulf War right after that. So I just came from one.
Hey, salute to you, bro.
Oh yeah, thanks, man. But one traumatic environment to another traumatic environment back to back. So I went to therapy after I got out. Actually, one of my clients was like, "Yo, you need to go to therapy, homie," and pay for my therapy. Yeah, one of my clients when I got out the military, and I went to the therapist and I got some benefit out of it. But the therapist he was also telling me stuff that was impossible based on the life I lived. That was not applicable because he didn't really understand where I was coming from or what I was going back to. At that time, I was living in the Fort Greene projects, and I was working on the Upper West Side in Manhattan every day. So I was going from, John Lennon's apartment, training clients, back to the projects, every single day, doing that switch. So as he tried to do the best job he could, but he couldn't really relate to what I was going through. And I think that's a big disconnect. I think a lot of people who do reach out for help, who are from the street, Black and brown, they feel like disappointed when they actually get to the therapist because they're not speaking to them in a way they can understand, number one, and they can't really relate, although they might be trying the best they can.
Absolutely. I think most therapists have good intentions.
Yeah.
I think you have to have some kind of level of empathetic ability to even try to do this. But like you said, perspective is a mud, man, when it comes to like understanding these things. And he was unknowingly not validating what you're feeling, but it wasn't his fault though. It's just because he's never had to deal with that. So it's hard for him to fathom, or him or her, but it's hard for them to fathom that. You know what I mean? So where to me, it automatically clicks. So my reaction time is better, and the way I react might be better as far as to that client or that person that I'm talking to, because I get it automatic. You know what I mean? So the thing about what's interesting about your situation, I actually did a paper about this in college, is that veterans who come from already traumatic environments, like when you're coming up in the hood, especially if you're a participant, or even, but you don't even have to be a participant. We get into shootouts, 30 seconds is like, feels like 20 minutes. Right. You know what I mean? When you're in a shootout, you know what I mean? And you're going through the same kind of trauma that these war vets go through, you know what I mean? Or very similar, you know what I mean? As far as the violence and seeing the people die. And, we call that complex PTSD. The PTSD that usually happens to the military, to people who come out of the military, is acute PTSD. You know what I'm saying? Because it hasn't been going on their whole life. What makes your situation unique, being a Black man, is that you're balancing both. So before you even had a chance to process generational trauma, you're processing the complex trauma of just growing up in the hood and being Black out here. And now you're going to have to put on top of that the PTSD that you got defending your country.
Yeah, interesting. Because when I got into the Navy, I got into the middle. I was a kid running home. I was ducking the bullets. I wasn't a street guy. Yeah, I wasn't.
That's just as traumatic.
I was the one who was looking every day, trying to keep my sneakers on, running home from school because you could steal your sneakers in the 80s. You know, in the cold wintertime, you know, take the eyes out off your shirt. It was real savage in Brooklyn at that time. You could steal the alligator off your shirt. Crazy. So I was the guy like always getting bullied, always getting beat up. That's why I ended up working out, trying to get myself in shape. I joined the military out of desperation. You know, because I knew I wasn't going to survive. I was just bait. I was on the bottom of the food chain every single day in the hood going to school. But when I got to the military, interestingly enough, I found it. Although we were in the middle of the Persian Gulf, you know, running ops, flying the planes, I felt safe because I wasn't getting directly shot at like I was in Brooklyn.
And you were protected too.
And I was protected. So I found myself actually in a safe space where the other people in there were like breaking up. They never got exposed to any type of trauma like that, you know. So
and just the trauma of your life being on the line. A lot of people that don't come from these areas that we come from, they've never had to do that. Like really, your life on the line. Like because even if you're I had a cousin who served in a war, and he was telling me, you know, he was actually in a Hummer that blew up, or I don't know if they're the Hummers, but whatever they be rolling in through the desert. It blew up, like they hit some kind of mine or something, and it blew up. And he was the only one that survived.
Wow.
You know what I mean? But he told me, like, even when you're in these tanks or you're in these things, that don't mean that your life's not on the line. You know, you can get blew up at any second.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? So for us in the hood, like for me, I remember having those feelings at 6 years old when I was walking to school. You know, I already knew like that you could die out here. You know what I'm saying?
Any minute.
Yeah. You know, so it's like, you already kind of go in there with knowing that your life can be on the line. So that's different from their perspective, or people that don't come from that environment, that they've never had to ever even think about that. You know what I mean? Their whole life was kind of like, you know, they had their traumas. Everybody does. Don't get me wrong. You know, it's all, you know, relative, I guess. But for the most part, they might have been living that wonder years, like type of life that I want for my kids. You know what I'm saying?
Life. Exactly. The hustle life. Yeah, but you know, it was always a battle for me. You know, I had my little Georgetown jacket. My mother was like, yo, they're killing people for those Georgetown jackets. I have my little gold chain, you know, just trying to, you know, melt it. They're pushing people over the subway and stealing your chain while they fell over the track. So I was always back against the wall in the subway, you know the drill. When I got to the Navy, I found out it was a safe space. So, it's interesting, when I went to therapy in there, like people could not relate, especially when I spoke to therapists in there, because they do when you leave, you know, you go to something called separation school. So they teach you how to come out and deal with what's going on.
Kind of like reassimilate.
To reassimilate, you go to a little separation school, but it's not really enough. And again, like the person couldn't really relate to what I was coming back to. You know, at the same time. So I think it's so great. What you do is really needed. Tell us about some of the high profile clients you work with.
Some of them you can see, obviously on television or in music. Some of them I can't really
same thing
talk about. Because it's confidentiality that I deal with a lot of these situations. A lot of my clients are people that, you know, are in entertainment and things like that. You know, obviously one of them is 𝙬𝙬. He's one of the more vocal about his therapy. He actually will do his stuff like on camera sometimes. You know what I mean? And he comes on my show, and although, you know, it's a little different from a regular therapy session because there's cameras, there's people, and things like that. But it's therapeutic-esque, so it's about as close to a real therapy session as you can get without, you know, being in the actual session. And like he just this week, we had a talk, and he talked about how he felt about a lot of people who were saying things about him. And, you know, my job is not to judge about who's wrong or right in that sense, but to let that person just say what they're feeling, right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, that's how they're feeling. And he vocalized some stuff about that, and it took off. We got over millions of views this week on it.
Yeah,
You
that's
know, and
powerful.
the comments that I was hearing a lot, that I've been hearing since we dropped the interview, is that um, they never really seen that side of Dame.
Mm.
You know, being more, I guess more human.
Yeah, more
You
vulnerable.
know, yeah, and kind of saying, yeah, this pissed me off, but it's not like, oh, nigga, you pissed me off, motherfucker, fuck you.
Right.
It's more like, yo, these are my brothers. I'm
This hurt
hurt.
me. Right.
This hurt me because I care about y'all so much, even though y'all on some bullshit. He felt like they was on some bullshit or whatever. So I feel like my platform kind of naturally caters to that. You know what I mean? That whole element of, you don't have to be Mr. Tough person all the time. You know what I mean? Like, we're human. Things hurt our feelings. We emotional. And to keep it real, anybody that's from the hood will tell you, like, even the illest killers, they be some of the most emotional dudes out here. You feel me?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Makes
that's
the
why
most
they
sense,
do a lot
man.
of this crazy stuff they doing. You know what I mean? So, I want to create a platform that flips that whole stereotype, because in the hood, it can be considered weakness. And people start thinking you weak in the neighborhood, they're gonna, you're gonna feel it.
Right.
So it can be detrimental to your life sometimes. So I want to flip that narrative of that, being human and showing emotions is weakness, because it's not. It's actually probably the strongest thing you can do. That's why I
Yeah.
say, that's why we say healing is gangster. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Healing is gangster, and it's I'm
Yeah.
notorious for not sharing on my podcast. Although I interview people, like people who
Yeah.
watch this show, they know I have
Yeah.
issues sharing, and
So
it actually takes more courage and strength to
absolutely.
share your story and is to sit down and ask somebody. So, I really try to change that and work on that. But what are the signals? Like, how do you know when you need to go to therapy or you need a therapist?
Um, when you start, when things that you like love doing start like losing some of the luster, um, when it starts affecting your other different parts of your life, whatever it is, whether it's a feeling of something, or you can't let something go, or whatever it is you're going through. In psychology, we don't consider it a problem, or in the psychology term, maladaptive, until it's affecting different parts of your life. You're not going to work, you're not associating with people, you're isolating. Self-harm, of course, that's the biggest red flag. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
um, if you're kind of drowning your sorrows and you know different other things that can exacerbate those problems, or something that you want to stop but can't stop.
Mm.
you
Yeah.
know there's a lot of
So,
different signs, but generally it surrounds how it's affecting other parts of your life, your health, your interactions with people, your love life, work,
gotcha.
all
How
that.
much? How important? How much do you see the correlation with us smoking with weed in the hood and trying to numb and suppress, as opposed to actually dealing with the issues?
That was something I had a complex time dealing with. Keep it real, bro, because I was smoking weed my whole life,
Right.
or damn, close to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I ain't gonna lie, I smoked all through college, bro.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know if
Yeah.
I don't know if I could have studied and concentrated like that if I wasn't like smoking. But the thing I did learn getting my education, just kind of going through life, is that just like everything, it's not for everybody.
Right.
Some people have more addictive personalities, and that can lead to other things. Some people have problems going on with their body that that they probably shouldn't smoke.
Yeah.
You
Well, for some people,
know,
it's medicinal. They need it.
it's medicinal, yeah. Now for them, it works. It might help you, relax. It might help you, concentrate. It might, solve some aching problems that you have. So it's really about self-awareness, and that's what you got to understand, is like self-awareness when it comes to that. Now, if it's something that's, again, remember what I said, if you're smoking weed and now you can't get up to go to work, you're too tired to
Mm.
talk to people, like I said, it starts affecting your other life in these negative ways. That means you should stop doing it.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? That's kind of like how you tell with that. But you also have to learn that there's side effects to everything, you know, depending on what kind of weed you smoke. Obviously, there's sativa, indica, things
Right.
like that. If you're somebody who's like, let's say, schizophrenic, or you see things,
Right.
or you do have a paranoia problem, like a clinical paranoia problem, right? Sometimes weed is a minor hallucinogen. People don't know that, and it also can speed up your blood pressure. And it's just like just smoke in general. If you any kind of smoke in your lungs might elevate your heart rate, and things like that. So you really got to just know yourself, and that's why I always encourage especially Black and brown people to go to the doctor, or get seen, whoever your trusted physician or however you do it, make sure everything's working right, and just be aware of what's going on with you, and biologically and mentally. That'll help navigate the things that you should or should not do.
Right. And how about exercise? How important is that for mental health? Can you speak on that for a minute?
Oh, it's super important. Your brain talks to your body. And everybody always thinks, oh, it's the brain kind of communicating and telling everything what to do, but actually the body also tells the brain things. You know what I mean? And when you're working out, you're working certain hormones. It can de-stress you sometimes. It's just good, just generally, if the body's in good working order, your brain will probably be in better working order.
Yeah, that's what I tell my clients. I said, you want to take care of the temple that houses your brain. You want to have as much nutrients as possible so you can make the best decisions. And
how you eat, exercise, all that.
Because just like you said with the weed, your diet also affects your equilibrium mentally. Your blood sugar is crashing all the time. You're not getting food in the right amount of time. You're not getting nutrients, hard to concentrate, irritable. All these things.
It affects how it works up here. You know what I mean? Like I said, there's certain nutrients and things that help the brain work. And a lot of it's crazy. I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people's trauma is found in their bodies before the brain even knows that what's going on. It's unconscious, and so that just shows you that there can be a separation. A lot of people who deal with PTSD, there's a separation between mind and body that they're not even aware of.
Yeah, and a lot of people, they carry that trauma in their hips.
Chest, shoulders.
Hips.
All that.
And a lot of times you find, I give you an example, a personal example. I hired a yoga instructor one summer, right? And they were like, well, what is your goal? And I was like, I want to be able to kick somebody in the face if they're standing behind me. Like bring my legs straight up and bow, kick them in the back straight up. And they were like, this is not the goal of yoga. You got the wrong intention, this, that, and the other. But I convinced this lady to instruct me, right? Because she's a top instructor, right? So, we're going through the whole process, and, I'm getting close to doing a split, and I'm doing hip opening, and she's telling me, lily white girl from, she used to do crew rowing Harvard, and she's like, a lot of people, when they finally get to the split, and they get their hips open, they start crying because, that's where all the emotional stuff is released and trapped in their hips. And I'm like, yeah. Just, get me loose enough so I can kick somebody behind my face. And then maybe, took like maybe the whole summer, maybe the last week or two that I hired her, because she would put her heart on my back and put her energy into me, and she pushed me down into the split, but I could never get there. So then one day it just clicked. Opened up, and I was all the way down to the split. Right. And before I could look up and say something, I was just bawling, crying, tears. And I couldn't believe it, man. I hadn't cried since 10, 15 years. I hadn't shed a tear. And it's amazing how much, and I was looking at her, and she started crying too. And we had this moment, and I was like, damn, I had so much trauma, shit locked up into my body. And I was a trainer. I'm training celebrities and all of this stuff. It just blew my mind. And I was thinking, damn, if that's me, I could imagine, normal people who don't.
Everybody.
Everybody. Yeah. So very interesting experience for me. So
absolutely.
I want to ask you, like, how long was it since you decided you were going to become a therapist and heal people to actually doing a session? And how was that first session you did with someone?
How long was I like getting my education before that happened?
Yeah. What was the educational process?
Oh, I started doing that while I was getting my master's degree. So I was doing it while I was getting educated.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how was that first one? Were you nervous? Like, can you remember it?
Oh yeah. I remember it. It was somebody I'm not used to dealing with. They weren't from my demographic.
Right.
Which is why I appreciate the college experience, because it exposed me to a lot of different types of people that came from all different kinds of environments and economic backgrounds. But so that made me better as a therapist. But she wasn't from my my element, and obviously the way I present, I don't care if I have a suit and tie on. You see my tattoos,
right,
all of that. So yeah, and then it's kind of like you're trying not to go off script, because a lot of first time therapists are like, man, I got to remember what this book said, what I'm supposed to do with it. What if they say this, or what if they say that, and you just doing you kind of more in your own brain than you should be. And for me, it took me back to when I would freestyle, like when I would rap. Like, how you just kind of get that adrenaline. You don't know what you're about to say next, but it has to be on beat. And it has to flow, and the delivery got to be there, and everything got to match for people to feel this freestyle. You know what I mean? And it just shows you what a talent that is when you're able to do it like this. And people are like, "Oh, that's dope." That's the same thing with therapy. Like, it's a freestyle. You're in a dance basically. And so when the person it's kind of like you're teaching them how to dance. And you got to get in rhythm with them. You got to meet them where they are as a person and as a client. And you got to dance with them, and you can't get off rhythm, and it's a tap dance for real. And that's why they call it a liberal art, because there's a lot of creativity to this therapy thing. And I think that's another reason why it clicked with me so well, because I'm a naturally creative person. And yeah, that's how I look at it. I look at it different. How in the Matrix they was looking at the little codes coming down and shit. That's how they saw stuff. That's kind of like how I see all of this, like with therapy. Like, it's a dance, and I get information and I react to it. I got to react to it quick, or at the right time, I should say.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, but it was about. I'm sorry, to answer your question. That was about. I want to say about 4 or 5 years, maybe about 5 years into my schooling, that I actually had to do it. It was part of the curriculum. Once you get to the grad school level, like, you got to start talking to people. They just throw you in. You got to get experienced, and you just got to do it. You know what I mean? The first, I'll tell you this, my first intervention ever was done on national television on WE TV.
Wow,
that was crazy.
Yeah,
I was still getting my master's when I did that. You know what I'm saying? So
how did it work out?
That was crazy. It worked out good. Like, I prepared for it. You know what I mean? I read up. I researched other cases, other interventions. I watched like a week worth of intervention, that show, because I knew what I was supposed to do, but I also know that there's an entertainment factor that I need to add into like this, or consider it at least, because I may not be dealing with people the way they would normally be if the cameras weren't on. So I got to take that into consideration when I'm in the midst of the therapy, so I don't get thrown off by that. So it's a lot of things, a lot of information I got to process. But I ain't gonna lie and say I wasn't nervous. I just did what I teach my son to do. I teach both of my sons. They're in sports, and I say, yo, that scared feeling you're feeling, that's when you're going to be able to lift up a car. That's when you're going to be able to run as fast as you can, so harness it, use it, right? You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Don't fall victim to it. And in those instances, that's what I did, but it was crazy though. Yeah. My first time was in front of millions of people. Like,
that is crazy. What kind of business advantage does having psychology degrees give you?
You said what kind of business advantage?
Yeah, because you can really see when people are bullshitting, right?
Yeah, well, for sure. Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure. But also, it could be used in different ways, not just necessarily psychoanalyzing people, but like knowing what the human brain attracts. So that can help you in marketing. Like a lot of these people that get consulted on some of these commercials you see on television, probably some of them that are paying these exorbitant fees on the Super Bowl and all that. Like, they talk to psychologists, or the marketer has some kind of background in psychology,
right?
And they know how to creatively. Again, remember what I told you, it's a liberal art. It's a creative thing, so they can formulate marketing plans and all of that stuff to
to do this based on your psychology. Yeah, and that's what they do. They do consultants.
Absolutely. I'm one of. I know I'm one of. Right? They consult me.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I do that. So that helps me in business, being able to kind of, I can find a way to kind of mesh into any business because any business involves this.
Right. Your mind is true. What kind of businesses are you into right now? Let's talk about the 𝘾𝙤𝙧𝙧𝙠.
Oh yeah. Well, obviously I have the show 𝘾𝙤𝙧𝙧𝙠. I also have the merch, which can be found on 𝘾𝙤𝙧𝙧𝙠.com. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of other different clothing things I'm gonna be working on, but right now we're pushing the 𝘾𝙤𝙧𝙧𝙧. So go to 𝘾𝙤𝙧𝙧𝙧.com, pick you up some merch. So I'm doing that, kind of in that field.
And you
pushing,
right?
Yeah, pushing. It's all pushing mental health and things to uplift stuff. So you'll see that that's the commonality in the things that I'm doing. So I got 𝘾𝙤𝙧𝙧𝙧, obviously, and that's a big movement. Then I have Projector, which is again project yourself, project. You know what I'm saying? That's what that's the whole meaning behind Projector is. We project what the world is projecting, basically. We're the pulse of what's happening. So and that's what Projector is about, and that's what I encourage. We have a space called Projector Space LA, which a lot of events get done. Some of your favorite podcasts, industry parties, get-togethers, things like that. We do a lot there, for the community. We have mental health events at the space, whether it's like yoga or talking to kids about art expression, different things like that. I shoot 𝘾𝙤𝙧𝙧𝙧, like what's gotten the millions of views. If you go look at it, that's my space, Projector Space LA, where it got filmed at. So I filmed my show there, and yeah, man, it's just about being yourself and being confident in that and trying to help other people. And that's what all of these things center around. But there's obviously all these different businesses attached to that. Projector. Well, you will be seeing a clothing line, Projector clothing line, coming soon.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah, so that'll be coming real soon. And just in the all these different verticals, these are all clothing, venue space, mental health therapy. You're going to be seeing an agency that I'm going to start with some of my partners that caters to the demographic that I come from, and kind of working with the community and the schools to get people therapy that may not be able to afford it.
That's great.
Yeah, that's a big hurdle for a lot of people, and this is just being able to afford it. And shouts out to the other people that are already out there kind of doing that, you know what I mean, that are helping people already with that. So yeah, a lot of things, man, a lot of different business minds that I got to balance, so I have to stay balanced.
Right.
Right. And a lot of the issues that some of my clients struggle with, I'm still, dealing with myself. That's what makes me such a good therapist. I'm doing it. My trauma is not nothing that you just get over, and this is part of my fabric. This is how I've lived my life. You know what I mean? For a long time I couldn't sit with my back to a door. I've been shot a couple of times. And all those times were times I wasn't expecting it.
Right.
For all the times I was ready, all the times I've been ready, all of that. It's like
you're not expecting it, right?
Yeah, most of the time, and it was a lot of trauma, with all of these different things, going to jail, dealing with all of that, and again, just being how I am. Obviously, I'm the lightest thing walking out here. You feel me?
Yeah.
That's not white. You feel me? So,
so
that came with a whole.
They always try the light skin first, right? They try you first.
Yeah, what I'm saying? Yeah. A lot of my homies, they was dudes that was trying to mess with me when I was young, and I, after I finally stood up for myself when I was a kid, they became some of my best friends and my homies. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, that's nothing that you get rid of. It don't matter where you are. That's a big problem with those of us that suffer from this PTSD stuff, is that it's hard for us to separate our mind from that trauma, even when we're in places that we're safe, I don't care if I'm in Beverly Hills, I'm still going to be like, because if it ain't my own, it's going to be the police that's giving me paranoia.
People be asking me, what are you doing out here? Why are you standing like that? Why are you sitting in the restaurant like that? It's just because I'm in the Netherlands right now, but still, my background in the military and coming from Brooklyn, I'm on point where they looking like ain't nothing happening here. Relax.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. Yeah, that's where you got to do that mindfulness work. You got to you got to do that breathing and, all the things that they teach y'all, and that I teach too as well. Is the breathing, kind of centering yourself. And, some people will count the clouds in the sky. Some people, whatever it is that'll distract them and center them and let them know that they're okay. But the confusing thing is, like we said, and this is something I always talk about, is that when you come from the hood, see, I don't want to say white psychology, but the psychology from where it is, all of these things, a lot of the things in this country started with racist fundamentals and beginnings. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the studies that they're teaching these kids in college are studies that were done on white folks back in the day. You know what I mean? Right. Psychology was designed for white people. You know what I'm saying? I'm just keeping it real, at the end of the day. And all this education I got didn't change what I had already knew.
Right.
It gets crazy the higher you go up.
Training with the body, like most of the machines are calibrated for Europeans. So they don't take into account that there's different bone density between African Americans and Europeans. When you take the body fat, this is really not accurate for us, black and brown, because we have a different level of bone density. So exactly. I totally understand what you're saying. Yeah. Well, most of the stuff is based on European society, but but also the Dutch people here, they ask me, they're like, why are you here? And I'm like, number one, I'm tired of supporting a racist organization. I done gave my life to the United States military, almost got killed, only to come back out and still get discriminated against. And, for me, it just got to the point where, I said, fuck it, I'm not going to continue to pay taxes and use my skill to enhance people to discriminate against me. Let me try to go somewhere else. So I ended up. And
I commend you. I commend you. And, that takes a lot of guts, you know what I'm saying, to make a move like that and say, you know what, I may not be able to, take all these people with me and start a massive movement to get people to move out of the United States. But you know what, I can set the example myself and do it and say, hey, you know what, I'm not going to support this at the end of the day. And I'm going to make my move so that I'm right with myself and saying, you know what, I'm not supporting that.
And I think a lot of us need to start doing that, because that will force the U.S. to change when they start losing the dollar signs and people start flooding out, going to other places. Then they'll try to wake up and do something. Because when I see all this money they're giving to Ukraine, but they can't do anything for reparations, and we still getting traumatized every day, I'm like, yo, I made the right decision to get the fuck out of the U.S.
Yeah, and that's why those of us, and even yourself, you know what I'm saying, how you do, these shows and everything, we have also responsibility to ourselves and to do these things ourselves. We can't always wait on legislation. Right. We can't always wait on them to pass these whatever, you know what I mean, or give us reparations. We got to go get it. You know what I mean? We have to start healing ourselves. Right. We got to start healing ourselves and taking accountability and working together. And that's kind of like what I was saying about how I be having to take what they're teaching me in psychology and basically reverse engineer it to us. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And because like their therapy is more centered on, well, let me end this anxiety. Let me end this, basically. Like, yo, you shouldn't be feeling anxious no more type, or they just want to be in this 24-hour Zen mode, which in our lives is impossible. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You can't do it. So I've had to explain to other therapists and other people that I talk to that what they're saying is real. So what you're telling them to do is going to leave them unprepared. At the end of the day, they still have to understand where they are, and they have to understand to read things around them and be ready. It's just a reality. You know what I'm saying? People getting shot walking to the store. People getting shot eating at Roscoe's. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? People getting shot, like, going shopping on Melrose or whatever. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, these are things that are happening. So to sit there and say, well, we just need to be in this Zen mode and just be a victim, no. So what we have to do now is I'm trying to find the balance of, all right, constantly staying in touch with your body, constantly staying in touch with your mind, calming yourself down when you need to. Hey, you know what? I'm good right now. I'm good. I've looked at everything where I'm safe. I'm good. So now let me breathe. Let me calm down. Let me, you know what I mean?
I try to explain. I hear that's definitely a good answer, but I want you to expound on that. I'm going to ask you this next question. I talk to people out here because they're like, yo, why are you here? You train this celebrity, you train that celebrity. You're pretty successful in the States. what are you doing here? And I try to explain to them, how stressful it is because, being black in this society, you got a target on your back. You're dealing with so much discrimination every single day. And they always go, really, Mark? I can't believe that this is happening. I can't believe that this is happening. I'm like, yo, black people are traumatized every single day. It's not a day that you don't go through some type of racial experience. So can you expound on how much more stressful that is? Because everybody's going through shit. White, black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. They're all going through your day-to-day shit. But when you have that target on your back, it double or triples it at the same time because you're not even getting the same opportunities or the same type of healthcare
at all, and you have the resources. And it's like I was saying before, I kind of alluded to it when I was like, the generational trauma we dealing with is enough to like fuck shit up. Excuse my language, but it's enough to like mess things up. Just that. We're already starting in a hole just with that. Now we have the day-to-day trauma of just being black on top of all of that. And so before we even have a chance to process any of this trauma, we're already going through trauma again. It's just stacking. So we're in survival mode. We're not living.
Right. Exactly.
There's a difference. It's a difference between surviving and living. You know what I'm saying? At what point can we stop and start mending all this? This just shows you the conundrum that we're in. At what point can we stop worrying about this daily stress that's happening every minute to process the past trauma, but then to also stop that and process the generational trauma? That affects us in every way, not just mentally, economically. You're starting off in a hole. You might work as a black man, you might work your whole life to get to where these other folks is starting.
Automatically. Exactly.
And you might not even make it there. It might take your son or your daughter to get just to that point where now you're starting off on an equal playing field.
Yep. So I'm glad you could actually say that, because a lot of people don't believe it when you're as a black man saying it to people, but as a professional who's got a million degrees, it actually is a real thing, right?
Absolutely.
Because they were like, no, Mark, it's not happening. No, it's not real.
I ain't one of them. I ain't one of them. I'm not gonna rosy up my message for like these people. You know what I'm saying? I'm cool. I know there's still oppression going on. We still don't have the advantages. It's not equal. I don't care who the president, who the senator, whoever it is. I don't care, black, brown. It's still, it's still messed up, and there's still a lot of work to do. You get what I'm saying? And before we even get to the political aspect, it's so much work we need to do amongst ourselves.
I was going to get to that too. Like, how can we deal with each other in a better way psychologically? Like, how can we put ourselves in and have a better opinion about each other? That's
by dealing with ourselves.
Starts,
by dealing with ourselves. Me, you individually.
Internal, right.
That's how you do it. Start valuing yourself. Start looking at yourself as the person you disrespecting. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what you are doing. When you're doing these things to yourself, you're disrespecting somebody. You're just not recognizing them as a person, which makes it so easier for you to disrespect that person, which is in this case happens to be yourself.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So if you're gonna disrespect yourself like that, it's gonna be nothing to disrespect somebody
else. Right.
You know what I'm saying? And rest in peace to the homie Nipsey. You know what I'm saying?
Rest in peace.
He said something like this, in an interview I had seen not too long ago, where he was like, and it's so true, it's so genius what he said, because psychologically it's so true. He said that most of the time, and trust me, as somebody who's been on missions and all, when you go out on these missions and you going to go seek out the enemy, somebody that looks different from you, like a white person or somebody that doesn't dress like you, you're going to let them go. You're not going to do nothing to them. But when you see somebody who looks like you,
that's the op, right?
That's the op. You know how they think, the walk, the look. It's you. You shooting yourself. Because if that person wasn't from another hood or whatever the problem is, y'all would probably be best friends. Because y'all probably like all the same stuff, right. Operate by the same rules. It just so happened that in these rules, everything's made to be self-destructive. And that's there for a purpose as well. You know what I'm saying?
So what's the best 3 tips you can give, you know, for a kid growing up in the hood or just a black kid trying to make it? What's the best 3 tips you can give for mental health? Like what should I be doing every day just to make sure I have decent mental? Just like, you know, I tell somebody they ask me 3 tips for diet, I can give them what are your working out or fitness. What's your 3 tips for mental fitness?
For mental fitness, first of all, as adults, we need to start teaching these kids young, like when they first get into school, how to regulate their bodies, like how to control their breathing, how to calm themselves, without you just saying, get in the corner. We got to teach these kids how to destabilize, you know, how to stabilize themselves and destabilize the trauma. Yeah, you know, and through that, you're already cultivating a self-awareness that's going to stick with that person as they grow. You know what I mean? And to the kid that's in the hood right now that hasn't got that training, you know, I would tell them to, first of all, in the hood, you got to be quick. You feel me? And you got to make quick decisions sometimes. You're not going to be able to make the best decision if you're hyper vigilant all the time. If you're always in go mode all the time and you constantly in fight or flight, your brain physically shuts off certain things. You ever put a phone in battery saver mode? Yeah. Okay, when you put a phone in battery saver mode, it stops doing a bunch of other things so that battery can live, right? So a lot of times you won't be able to go on the internet. You won't be able to do certain things that you normally be able to do, right? The human brain is the exact same way. Wow. If you're, first of all, if you're running from a bear, like they say in psychology, right? And for us, the bear is bullets, ops, cops, whatever it is, right? When you're in that situation, your brain shuts down certain things so that you can just focus on running and making this next turn. You're not thinking how this move is going to affect you 6 months from now. You're not thinking about how this move going to affect you 5 minutes from now. You're just like, I got to get away from these bullets. I don't care what's around this corner. Right. Right? So imagine us as black men, we live our whole lives like that. So it affects how you learn shit, because we can't learn because our brains are not functioning actively because it's constantly in hyper function mode. You know what I'm saying? So those parts of the brain, those cortical areas that are in charge of learning, considering things, you know, all those things that go into making good decisions are turned off or not working at full capability. Right. So you're not going to make the best decisions with your life. You know what I'm saying? So I would tell that dude in the hood, especially if you a dude in the hood that's a leader of people, you know what I'm saying? Like, learn how to calm that down, breathe. Just calm down. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be like that everywhere you go. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, because there's going to be times you're going to have to calm yourself down to fully assess a situation, learn something, fully intake information, all the things that it takes to make sure that you live a long life. That's what I would tell them how to do. And then after they learn how to do that, I would tell the same thing I tell both of my sons. I say, yo, I taught them how to make good decisions. Consider all your options. And then whatever decision you do, you know your consequences, you know the risks involved. That way, if you do make a risky decision and the shit hits the fan, you know what's up. Right. You can handle like you know this could have been a possibility. You know what I'm saying? Or you know what? This is the route to go where I can avoid all of that. Let me go this way. Gotcha. You know what I'm saying? Either way, just be aware of how things are going to affect you and consider more than just the right now. That's what I would tell somebody in the hood. You know what I mean? And, you know, don't be afraid to like deal with your emotions, you know, internally. Yeah, you know, so. Yeah. So thank you for that. Yeah, no doubt. I wish I could expound on it more, but myself. You know? Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I wish I could expound on it. But really, we just need to start with just them. Let's just do that first. You know what I'm saying? Once we do that, there's an extra book for that. But those are the first 3 to get you started. Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'll be coming out with a book soon too. So, okay, right. I'm finishing. You got a title yet? Yeah, well, I'm still working with the title, but it without giving too much up, even though I'm copyrighted, it's hard copywriting, but still, Dudes will steal your energy out
Yeah,
here.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
It has to do with business and mental health.
Okay, perfect. That's a great one. That's a great combination, I think. All right. So where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? What's the goals?
The next 5 years, I mean, I want to be the goal that I have really in the next 5 years is to be able to just look back and just be like, damn, like we did something. Like,
you contributed, right? You made some impact, but you already did that, bro. You don't need 5 years, so salute to you, much respect, man. So you already did that. But I hear what you're saying.
Appreciate that. I appreciate it. I just want to be able to those are my goals, and I want to have enough money to do what I want when I want. I don't need to be the richest person. I want to be able to enjoy life. That's what I want to do in 5 years. I want to be able to just sit around and you know what? I just want to kick it just kick it today. I don't want to do shit.
Right. Yeah, that's the best. That's the best.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's it. Nothing too crazy.
Just live, right? I hear you.
Absolutely.
So if people want to get at you, how can they reach you? What's your IG? If someone really has a mental health problem, they want to get you, if they want to book you for some speaking or events, like how can people get at you?
They can get at me on Instagram, Taje310. That's TAJE310. All right. Or you can just type in the Hood Therapist. I'm gonna pop up most of the time. That they can, DM me there, you know what I mean, or holler at me on there.
Yep, and give us the show too. Everything. Give us everything so people
𝘾𝙤𝙧𝙧 𝙤𝙤𝙧𝙠. You can go to 𝘾𝙤𝙧𝙧𝙠.com, obviously, to get the merch. 𝘾𝙤𝙧𝙧𝙠 official on Instagram. So you can check out the past episodes and kind of catch up on, all the little things that I'm doing. I also have this show that I'm working on called The Hood Therapist, which I'm going to be dealing with people more directly. 𝘾𝙤𝙧𝙧 is more about like my interaction with the guests.
Gotcha.
It's more about that story. The Hood Therapist is going to be more about dealing with, certain individual situations. I'm going to be talking to y'all and answering up because I get a lot of questions in my DMs about, how should I handle this? Or, what do you think about that? So it'll be a chance for me to answer, those questions more directly. And you also get to know me better, on the Hood Therapist. You know what I mean?
That's
so look out for that.
When I get to LA, we definitely going to link. I should be out there next 2-3 weeks, man. So definitely, I'm gonna look you up, man. Let's get a workout in for sure. It's been a pleasure and an honor, man. I really respect so much what you're doing, and just your frankness and honesty is definitely refreshing to hear psychology coming from our perspective. So thank you so much for being on, man. I appreciate it. And you got to come back, man. If you got anything else going on, come back on. I think you should be a regular, just talking to people. I know this interview is going to get a lot of other questions from people who want, more therapy and lead into some other things. So I definitely want to invite you back in advance. Maybe next month after that, we can get you back on. But appreciate you so much for coming on, man.
Thank you. All praise is due to the Most High. Thank you very much.
You got any parting words of wisdom? Anything else you want to say? We covered everything, you think?
Hey, man, just heal yourself, man, and help to heal others if you can. You know what I mean? But if you just start with yourself, that's going to naturally help everybody else around you. Learning how to love yourself will teach everybody else how to love you better. You know what I mean? So
that's what's up, man. Thank you so much. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to outro, and we're going to talk right after this.
All right,
hey, guys, take care of your mental health because it's all together, man. That's the 8 pillars of wellness they're talking about. Your physical, spiritual, financial, social, occupational, environmental, and mental. Super important. So, guys, if you get all your quadrants, it's like school. You get like 75%, you pass, man. You get 75%, you have a good life. So definitely don't neglect, because a lot of times, especially in the workout space, you'll be thinking about your body, but you're not thinking about developing your mind. So for all you fitness people out there, take care of your mental health, and have a good one, guys. Peace and love till next time.